Next up, the co-founder of Salesforce.com, Parker Harris.
Salesforce.com got its start in the late 90s as a cloud-based Salesforce automation and customer relations management platform, and has since diversified into offering platforms as services as well as several cloud-based social enterprise solutions. The popularity of its no-software, multi-tenant, web-based approach has driven down the cost and complexity of enterprise computing for many of its customers and turned the company into the proverbial poster child of cloud computing. Parker Harris, along with Mark Benioff, co-founded the company, and Mr. Harris is also head of development for Salesforce.com.
Well, Parker, thanks for joining us on the show. It's great to see you again. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Fritz.
So,
good to see you.
That was a great opening, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I kept the Salesforce jokes out of it.
Yeah, I identify with Beaker. That whole thing. That was good.
You also identify with the fact that Azure has one customer too, right? You guys have gone after Microsoft in a pretty hard way. At least Mark does. So.
We go after Microsoft, you know, but we like to have the cloud be successful everywhere. We think most of the people are coming to us for our platform as a service, and I'm pretty happy about that.
Well, last year you guys made a lot of noise about Cloud 2, so I want to talk a little bit about that. That was over a year ago, and you moved pretty quickly. And since then,
we've moved past Cloud 2.
You moved past Cloud 2. I want to ask about that. You've acquired some companies in the interim. Heroku, one of those companies.
Yeah.
You've built a portfolio of solutions that add up to what you guys have been referring to as the social enterprise.
Yeah.
So, is there a Cloud 3, or what comes after Cloud 2?
Cloud 2 is so last year. It really is. So social enterprise, if you look at the acquisitions that we did, Heroku came along and really transformed us in terms of open standards, open systems. You can run any language on us. Really added a 3GL to our service. And Radian6, kind of in a different way, brought the ability for us to kind of listen to things on the internet. And it was really Marcel Lebrun from Radian6 that was really helping us kind of see a new way to go in terms of the social enterprise, which was, let's know your customer. Right? And how do you know your customer? Certainly there's core CRM, which has been our history, but the customer's out on the web. They're out on Twitter, they're out on Facebook. They are watching this show right now and making comments on your site.
Oh, God.
They are. They're making comments right now about your opening. And so, so how do you
They're tweeting that.
So how do you know that customer? And how do you bring all those assets together? And some of those assets, frankly, the social enterprise is about services from Salesforce, but also how do we fit in the fabric of your enterprise? How does it all fit together so that you really know that customer and you can be working with the customer, and that the walls of the enterprise are kind of coming down? The idea that your systems are back here and your customers over here and you're talking to them on the phone is gone. How do you connect that customer with you in every way?
Is this Cloud 3 or is Cloud 4, or are you guys going to keep are you getting the domains, by the way?
Are you asking me to predict where our marketing is going?
Well, you guys have been the poster child for cloud computing. I mean, what was it, 1999 when the two of you founded Salesforce.com, you and Mark Benioff, and when anybody points to the chief selling proposition for the cloud, they often will refer to what it is that you guys are doing. So is this Cloud 3, or what comes after Cloud 2? What are you going to call it? Because you are, Mark especially, is the master of spin and branding.
That's part of his title.
I think, you know, right now we've moved past Cloud 2, and that was, for me, that was a baby step. You know, when we started the company, it was Amazon.com and buying a book on the internet. For us, we wanted to make CRM that easy. And then Facebook came along and influenced us. And from a social perspective, we started changing our user interface and started thinking of a feed interface. And then more recently, mobility has really hit in a huge way. We've been talking about it probably for the past decade. Mobile's here, mobile's here, mobile's here. But if you look at what's happening on mobile devices, you know, between the tablets that are out now, the phones, when we started Salesforce, the idea of the BlackBerry and email in your pocket was transformational. And now we expect full computers, and we expect the same thing. You're going to talk about Evernote later. Phenomenal application. It's usable on any of these devices. And you know, that's where we see things going. And mobility, and for us, HTML5 as a core technology is something that we have invested heavily in, and you're going to see a ton from us in the coming year.
I want to shift gears for a second, because I'm an old enterprise guy, and
You're not that
you know, well, a lot of plastic surgery. we've kind of started to hear, certainly from companies like SAP and now from Oracle, you might jump on the cloud bandwagon.
Yeah.
I would just say, they're getting religion.
Yeah.
But there's, my understanding is that there's a big difference between taking apps like the ones that Oracle makes and SAP makes, make a lot of money with, and putting them in the cloud and running them in the cloud, and applications built from the ground up to be cloud architected, I don't know, for lack of a better word. And I know multi-tenancy is a part of that, but customers may say, oh yeah, I want to run it in the cloud. Oracle will let me run my applications, my even Fusion applications, in an Amazon cloud or in a Rackspace cloud.
Right.
How will you go to market and combat that? Well, a more important question, what are the key differences between an app that's hosted in the cloud and ones like yours that are built from the ground up to be cloud aware?
So if you look at in the past, there were companies like Choreo. Remember Choreo? Years and years ago, the idea that I can take, you don't have to change anything, you're going to run your enterprise application in the cloud. And that's essentially giving up the management of it. So there's some benefit to that. I don't have to worry about the computers. But that software wasn't really written to be managed remotely through a web interface. Sometimes the UIs themselves aren't really compatible with the web. And if you think about hosting, if we had 100,000 different servers running all these applications, the management of that to give the innovation to our customers, we spend all of our time worrying about all of these different customers and then different applications. And instead, we run one application. So it's really a different way of thinking. And you can call that multi-tenancy. I call it worrying about delivering the value to the customer and worrying about that innovation instead of what I'm doing at the back. Because no customer cares that I'm running one computer or 1,000 computers, that it's virtualization or it's multi-tenancy. They just care that I get 3 releases a year, I get all this new social enterprise, we're way past Cloud 2, but that's what they're getting. And if you take some other players like an SAP or Oracle, that's not how they've architected, that's not how they think. And that's not really how they've delivered their services in the past.
So is it fair to say that Salesforce isn't too worried about Oracle and SAP becoming SaaS vendors that challenge you over the next couple of years?
Well, the interesting thing is most of our customers are using SAP and Oracle. And they're using SAP and Oracle for their back office. And we use Oracle for our back office. It's a great financial application. It's not a great UI. It's not something that I care to go use. And so if you look at where's the customer today, where's the action, it's in the customer-facing applications, it's out on the web, it's out on Facebook, it's out on Twitter, it's on your mobile device. That's not where your ERP is. ERP is still really important. And so that's always going to exist. And I think there's some vendors out there, like Workday's coming out. There's a bunch of vendors that are really innovating that space. But if you think about ERP, it takes decades and decades to really move customers over to that space.
And we're seeing the SAPs and Oracles start to buy those companies.
And they're starting to buy those companies. And it is a big market. And having SAP and Oracle, it was only years ago that Larry Ellison was saying the cloud was just water vapor, if you remember that.
I do.
And there was a
Meanwhile, he was an investor.
He still is an investor, yeah. So, keep your enemies close.
A little bit of a hypocrite there, right?
But it's great, and they're really helping to expand the market.
I have one last question, and then we have to let you go. Green computing is really hard. If you're an IT guy and your CEO comes to you and says, "Hey, this green stuff's really important. Carbon emissions. Let's make sure our company's really green."
Yeah.
It seems to me, and I don't know, tell me if I'm right or wrong, that you really can't achieve the benefits until you get to a certain scale. And so maybe outsourcing to cloud-based companies who have that sort of scale and and whose financial interests make them want to be green. Maybe that's a better approach to saying, "Hey, we are green." What are your thoughts on that?
So my angle on that is green computing. You can start with just efficiency. So start with, if you just did virtualization, you took the virtualization vendors out there like a VMware. You can compact your infrastructure behind your firewall.
Get rid of the underutilized
you can get
capacity.
more efficiency out of what you have, so you have less computers. You move it to a provider like us that's massively multi-tenant, you're going orders of magnitude. So we run maybe 3,000, 4,000 servers to run everything that we do. And you think about all the servers that we've replaced in all of our customers. So there's a massive effect of just green computing in going to the cloud. And then I think there's a ton of innovation from people like Andy and others that are looking at how can we be more green about the computers themselves, about the data center designs. Facebook open sourced their data center designs, and they're looking at naturally cooled data centers. These are all things that are starting to really be important because the cloud is growing, and multi-tenancy is one form of efficiency, but you need to look at all of that as it evolves, and I think it's super important.
All right, well, Parker Harris, co-founder of Salesforce.com, will you accept
I will accept it.
Token of our appreciation
Thank
for being
you.
on this show?
I have a mug.
There you go. If you want to be on the show, by the way, we do randomly select some members of our audience to come on and make an elevator pitch, or you can pitch Fritz and I directly. You either have to come here and be at the show, or you can send your pitch to me or Fritz at FNelson on Twitter, FNELSON, or me, D Berlin, DBERLIND.